Last time on the WizardCast.
Brian. Oh, Brian, good. You're here. Good. I'm glad. Okay. I've got an emergency. I need some help.
Okay. Calm down. What's wrong?
I can't find my microphone. Like, it's kind of important. You can't do a podcast without a microphone.
Okay.
Can you help me out?
No problems. I think I got an extra one in my basement. I'll just walk down there and get it, shall I?
Cool. All right. Thank you. Yes. All right. There he goes. Okay. Yeah. He's taking a while. Bit of long pause for a podcast. Yeah. It's not like he's actually gone to the basement. This is actually a joke. He just muted his mic. You pretend he's gone. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's probably about long enough. I think this is probably... hey, Brian. There you are.
Oh, hi, Mike. Sorry. Whew, lots of steps, man.
I'm sure.
Do I need some exercise?
Do you?
Yeah. I mean, it's only 10 steps. No microphone in the basement, sadly, but I know for sure. I got one out in the car.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
All right, go on. All right, there he goes. Yep. Yep. Just waiting.
And now the conclusion of the WizardCast.
I'm Brian Kwong.
And I'm Mark Ross.
We're Salesforce experts that love talking about technology and Salesforce.
We also love humor. Doesn't mean we're actually good at it.
In the Salesforce community, I'm known as the Salesforce Wizard, likely due to me wearing a wizard hat at Salesforce events.
And I'm known as Salesforce Yoda for pretty much the same reason.
You should see the ears.
We have a passion to help educate and entertain people.
So we've joined forces to create WizardCast.
We've got tips and best practices.
We talk with interesting people.
All mixed with quote-unquote jokes and humor.
Welcome
to the
WizardCast.
When is the best time to go to the dentist?
Tuesday, because that's when my appointment is.
No, Brian, don't step on the joke, Brian.
What joke?
Oh, don't step on the joke, okay?
What?
Okay?
Okay.
When is the best time to go to the dentist?
Is this where I say I don't know?
Yes, Brian.
I don't know.
Close enough. At tooth hurty.
No. Actually, my appointment is at 4. Should I change it?
No, Brian. Leave it. That's fine. Happy belated Pi Day, by the way.
Yes, and thank you, Lorna, for that wonderful joke. You know, I get distracted by Pi Day because I prefer Tau Day, Mark. Pi Day is nice, but Tau, you get twice the amount of pi.
Really?
Yeah, because Tau is actually 2 times pi.
I didn't know that. I haven't taken any math since high school.
28th. It's
actually
a better mathematical... Yeah, okay, anyways.
It's been a very long time.
March 14th is, more importantly, St. Molis Day.
All hail St. Molis and his formulas.
I mean, I observed St. Molis Day by listening to our podcast with St. Molis and thought back in remembrance of his wisdom.
Formulae dictum animus.
I don't really remember Steve talking in Latin.
Carpe diem.
But if you too would like to hear our episode with Steve Molis, that is all the way back in episode 22.
Shameless plug.
Posted on March 4th. So
Brian's feeling awkward.
posted on March 14th, because that would be... Okay, anyways.
Joke is getting old now.
It wasn't a joke, Mark. I was trying to share with our new listeners that may not have known that we have actual really good content out there from all the way back in 2016.
Totally not getting it, so it is funny again.
So, Mark, how
Yes?
are you feeling?
I'm sorry, Brian. That was all totally unscripted, by the way. So you had no idea I was going to do all that. I'm sorry.
Terrible. Absolutely. And I bet no one, and I'm telling you this, I'm betting none of our listeners found that funny. So if you did, you should tell us, go tweet at us at WizardCast_pod and let us know if you thought that unscripted thing that Mark just did was funny, because I thought it was terrible.
Desperate for attention.
More like listener feedback.
Yeah, well, same.
So, Mark, how are you feeling? Doing good?
Oh, it's been a really long day. Work was, just really nonstop. We're recording pretty late. I'm kind of beat.
You know what you need? A coffee break. Coffee break is where we take something shared by Peter Coffee and talk about it.
Because Peter Coffee is cool. This is a tweet that comes from March 11th. Originally, he tweeted an article from Boing Boing, which is a fun website to say, about caffeine in spiders. But then he follows up with his own tweet, actually posts an image of spider webs that have been created when the spider has had a dose of caffeine. And he says, if one seeks motivation to cut down on daily caffeine, it's probably hard to find anything better than the picture of a spider web constructed under the influence. And these spider webs, they're
pretty trippy.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you look at the spider web that was created when the spider was under the influence of LSD, and it's actually, like, well ordered. It looks like the game Tempest. I don't know if you remember, it's an old Atari game. It looks like a tunnel. It's very straight lines. There's a picture of the one where it's exposed to marijuana. It looks like kind of a normal web, but the outside of it looks kind of janky. But then you see the one where the web is created after a caffeine dose, and it's like he didn't even care. The spider's just like, yeah, threads go here, whatever. Doesn't matter. It's good enough.
I had a friend that was so addicted to caffeine. Mm-hmm. I was down there staying over for a weekend, and he had to work the next morning. It's 2:00 in the morning. I'm up playing video games. He comes up, says, I can't sleep, pops a no-dose, and goes to bed. He was so addicted to caffeine, he couldn't sleep without more caffeine in his system.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And the thing is, one of the reasons we were even talking about this is because, we work, all of us, our listeners and everybody, we work in the tech industry. And you know what? There's a lot of culture around coffee and soda and the idea of insert caffeine, receive code.
Heck, this whole segment is a pun against coffee with Peter Coffee.
But even more appropriate. Exactly. But I have caffeine practically every workday. The interesting thing is I don't ever have it usually on weekends, and I'm usually fine.
I went 3 years without a single drop of caffeine.
Well, you're weird.
Well, I did it on purpose because, back then I was getting to the point where I was drinking so much caffeine, mainly because I really didn't like my job at the time, and the coffee was free, and coffee breaks were completely acceptable. So I was drinking, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 12-ounce cups. Or, no, the tall cups. I mean, probably something like 15 ounces. It was more than a can of pop. Drinking a lot of that before noon. And my hands were getting shaky, and I tried to spin my web and it just was all janky. It was just not a good situation.
Wait, you were spinning webs? Was that your job? Was your job to be a spider?
No, I was a Salesforce administrator.
Oh, so you're spinning web pages.
Yes. Sure.
That's worse than my joke from earlier.
I wasn't actually trying to make a pun. I was simply being stupid. But thank you for that, Mark.
You're welcome.
But, caffeine, in addition to keeping you more, at least feeling alert, can give you panic attacks, can cause psychosis, and even violent impulses.
For those who are already prone to them.
Which would explain why every time I see Mark during Dreamforce, he starts hitting me with that stupid stuff Yoda. How's that for unscripted, Mark?
That's when I'm that's when I'm on low caffeine too. No, so and that's the thing is I actually had a couple months back, I got pretty sick in the stomach. I was having to be exceedingly careful with everything I ate and drank. And because of that, I did not ingest any sort of caffeinated drink for about 2 or 3 weeks. And by the third week, you know what? I was doing pretty good, provided I got sleep. So me minus caffeine plus enough sleep was actually greater than me with getting regular sleep and caffeine. Like, I actually was more on my game. Yeah. Now, that being said, I'm back on caffeine. I'm back on having at least some every day, but I've dialed it back. Whereas before I was going through 2 20-ounce Pepsis a day. Now I'm going through 1 20-ounce Pepsi a day. So I'm trying.
Yeah. I did come back with caffeine, but not because I wanted the caffeine, but because I really like the taste of coffee. Black coffee, even. I don't know what it is. I just really like it, and decaf is not the same. But I only drink maybe 2 or 3 cups a week.
And frankly, there's nothing like a good real sugar Pepsi to quench your thirst and make you feel good about life. Pepsi, if you're interested in sponsorship opportunities.
Yeah, because I'm sure there's someone from PepsiCo listening to this.
Hey, maybe they have a Salesforce admin. You don't know.
They do. There's actually a distributing a warehouse just down the street from me, Mark. And I don't think I ever mentioned that to you.
Do they use Salesforce?
I'm pretty sure they do. We know Coca-Cola does.
That's true.
So what do you folks think? Let us know in the comments. Tweet us at WizardCast_pod or send us an email at wizardcast@thewizardnews.com. Do you think caffeine, ups your game, or does it make you go all crazy? Do you have a podcast? Want to start one? Go to signup.libsyn.com and use promo code PODMAGIC for a free month at any plan tier. Libsyn is what we use for the WizardCast, and if you like and stay with Libsyn, we'll get a bit of your first month fee. Helps us to cover the cost for running the podcast.
Wait, costs?
Yeah.
You don't pay me anything. You don't ask me for any money. What costs do you have?
Well, I pay for the website hosting, the equipment, some other tools, and of course the Libsyn hosting fees. And we can't forget my salary.
Salary? You get a salary? Do I get a salary?
Sorry, Mark. I think something's wrong with your Skype. I can't hear you.
Ha, Brian. It's not like that's not the oldest. Oh. He actually did have trouble with his Skype there.
Our guest today is just another person trying to make a living.
That's it? That's it, Brian?
Yeah.
That's all you got? That's terrible. You didn't even try to write an introduction, did you?
Look, it's a last-minute interview. We're really lucky to have him. He's got an amazing story, and we've heard this, that he's the humblest man on the planet. Everyone, welcome Carlos Siqueira.
Hola, buenas noches, señores, damas y caballeros.
¿Qué?
Inglés, por favor.
Yo no hablo inglés.
Oh, no.
What did you do, Brian?
What did you do?
I didn't vet this guest as clearly as I should have.
I'm here to cut the grass.
All right. I didn't say it. None of us said it. He said it.
No, seriously.
I hope you're not, because it's still winter here and my grass is currently brown and gray.
Well, that just shows how much he knows about that sort of thing. I mean,
Well, he's from Florida, so.
In Florida, it's still green, but yes, the name is Carlos Siqueira, and I'm glad to be here.
So, Carlos, we had a really great discussion at Dreamforce, and of course it was loud. I think it was at the MVP party.
Yes.
And you told me you basically went from not doing anything Salesforce to basically being a Salesforce superstar, including becoming an MVP in something like 19 months. Is that right?
Kind of. I'm not a superstar, but yes. From
how about sort of star?
I would say my favorite line that all the people that know me is gonna kill me. I'm a poor South America trying to make a living on the mainland. Seriously.
Okay. Oh, you see, I always thought the mainland was like the major body of land, in reference to you living in an island.
No,
right?
No. Mainland for the outsiders, at least in Latin America, if you say mainland, you say, oh, Estados Unidos, America, you know.
But you live in
land.
Florida.
Yeah,
you live in Florida, not Maine. Maine's way up north.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying Maine. You know, don't make a joke here on me. The Maine, you know, the relevant one. Yeah. Yes, that's United
by
States.
New Hampshire. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you got that right. So seriously, I had this conversation with Brian, and I had the same conversation with Mark as well on the breakfast for Trailhead for Students with David Liu. Remember that?
Oh, yes.
Mark, and we all three of us, we mentioned about, like, you know, being snubbed by other people in our careers, being snubbed for whatever reasons, you know, if you are Latino, if you are Asian, if you are geek, if you, whatever reason, any way, shape, or form, we have been singled out. And you just take as it is. So my story is, you know, it is that, yes, I was very successful in the mainframe world, but I got sick and tired, and I have this discussion with Brian, got sick and tired of doing coding. You know, that's why I'm not a developer. That's why I don't want to do Apex, JavaScript, you know, JSON, anything like that, none of those frameworks. But I use a Salesforce a little bit in 2010 because my background is pretty much in a pre-sales support. You know, everything like a client-facing experience. Engagements, adoption, you know, soft product evangelist, everything that involves, you know, making the link between a potential client and the sales, and further after that, post-sale as well, you know, keeping the account happy, talking to R&D and so forth. I was doing that very well on the mainframe, but I wanted to jump into something new, and that's why I started with Salesforce from scratch.
Well, those are skills that do directly translate. Like that's probably extremely fortuitous that you had that particular skill set, because Salesforce, I would say those are qualities that you would find in some of the best admins, those that are more like, you know, software architects, technical architects. They're the ones who are considering things like adoption and engagement, and not just thinking about how can I, you know, wedge this functionality into Salesforce. So that put you in a prime position as soon as you jumped over to Cloudland.
Yeah, in a way, you know, I mean, one of the products that I work on the mainframe was a code generator. And I'm not saying that Salesforce is a code generator, don't take me wrong. But in a way, we have a data dictionary that I'll have a metadata, and that metadata was created to create, you know, the 3270, the green screens that you see or you still see on insurance or banks, you know, so that's pretty much metadata. The difference is in that you have actually had to write code, and it wasn't anything like IDEs or APIs that you have nowadays, you know, so we didn't have Eclipse, anything like that. And that makes kind of, you have a more robust applications today. But, you know, if you ask a guy to just write a bubble sort from scratch, he's going to say, what are you talking about? Where do I point that? Let me call, you know, a function or API or something like that. And back in the day, you had to do that by yourself. How you sort a list. You have a list here of 20 employers that like a related list. How you sort that if you're doing that on the mainframe or something else? You have to do that by code. The other things that I see that it helps me a lot is every time somebody say, oh, you just go in there and create a custom object, or you do a lookup, and I say, how you talking? You're taking a look at what's happening behind. I know that the design on Salesforce is a very good one, the data modeling, but every time that you do something, there's something behind. You have to think about performance. If you're a developer, you do SOC-Ls or anything in there, yes, you think about performance. But a lot of admins or just business, they don't care, or they don't understand that depending on why don't I have this? Because they take forever. It takes you to have a joint and several tables. And, people don't even realize what's the first normalization, what's the second form normalization, what's the third. That's academic.
Well, a lot of people don't even know what those terms mean.
Well, exactly. Oracle was the one to say that everything has to be relational. And guess what? When you take a good look in Oracle, they allow a little redundancy because that's when they get the speed. A little redundancy. You normalize on the paper, but when it comes to the real world, to the physical implementation, you have to put that denormalize and do a little, of a redundancy in there to gain performance and get what it is. But, we don't need to go that technical. But that's the kind of experience that I had. And I think
when was this, Carlos?
This was when did that started? I would say 1978. Oops. No, 1978 was when I was born. Oh, oops again. 1979, that's when I first started to write COBOL.
You started writing COBOL at 1 year old?
That's how good I am. No, I was out of high school.
Okay. So you started writing COBOL, and then you made the switch over to doing get away from the mainframes to do other things, right?
I tried several times. I tried Java. I tried HTML. I tried BPM. And I didn't like it. And the money and demand for the mainframe work was big because of its Spanish as well. There was needs. There was a thing in 2000, like the Y2K bug that everybody got affected in the mainframe, in open source. Everybody got, well, maybe not much of open source because open source wasn't developed way that behind like the mainframe, but that brought a lot of money. Then after that was the legacy modernization, people getting off of the IBMs, mainframes, SAPs and stuff like that, get into the Oracle stacks or Microsoft stack, or even, most recently, Salesforce. There was PeopleSoft and things like that, the ERPs.
So how did you get into Salesforce then specifically? What was your journey? 19 months ago.
Okay, I use it a little bit for a company that I work for, like 30 employees. We didn't have an admin, and I pretty much use for the traditional leads, contacts, accounts, opportunities. That's all.
So you're an end user.
Yeah, I was an end user, 2010 to 2012. Then in 2015, a company that it should remain, unnamed, approached me. And because they said, oh, you have experience on pre-sales support and you speak Spanish and Portuguese, we want you to be our pre-sales engineer for Latin America because we are a Salesforce partner and we need that. And I say, okay, but I don't know Salesforce, so we teach you, we do that. So they asked me to I have a conversation with account salesman. He liked it. I had a conversation with the executive VP and he liked it as well. So they say, well, I need to see you for Lauderdale. You need to give me a presentation saying about what? So you pick the subject. I say, man, what am I going to do? Okay, I make a presentation about a product called Carlos Siqueira. Very unique product.
I don't know how you came up with the name.
Yeah, well, the name itself, it would sell the product. So
now you just need to get that domain name, carlossiqueira.com.
Yeah, well, I try to have the Siqueira.com. I don't have. I'd have the Siqueira.org. That's my email. Yeah.
Nice.
So I went to Florida. I did a presentation to them. They asked me a couple of things that I didn't know. And I say, hey, I go Google. They like it. And they say, oh, we're going to make a move on you. And they never made. They ended up getting a girl out of school. And at that moment, the virus was already on my bloodstream. We're talking, July 2015, when I first opened my first DE org. And I was working in California, a bad job, bad mainframe contract. And I needed to have a surgery on my neck,
Wow.
And I gave up that job. I have my neck surgery exactly on Thanksgiving Day, 2016. And the next day, I started to do Trailhead, while I wasn't home, no work. And, Trailhead, as probably you guys didn't have that luxury. I understand that you guys had to do it the hard way.
We had to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps manually, walked up hills in snow with newspapers on our feet.
Yes, and a soap opera title, right? Come on, man.
Some other cliche.
Yeah, a Mexican soap opera or Brazilian soap opera. No, for real. This was Thanksgiving 2016, 2015. Then a friend of mine, he's a director for development in a company in Florida. Very nice guy, Brazilian like me, Carlos like me. We want to have our club, Carlos and Carlos Associates,
Sounds like a lawyer's group.
Yeah.
Carlos and Carlos.
Yeah, we fix your DUI tickets, So, yeah. So he tried Salesforce before and they never signed it. So he has a system that I don't even remember, was like a client service system, like a terrible. And he said, hey, we're going to have Salesforce here. We're probably going to have 85 users. If you want to come in here, we can sign you, try to get you a contract to be an intern, no money. Would you do that? And I say, yes, I would. Yes, I would. Why not? Guys, put this way, okay? Seriously. When I left Brazil in 1988, I was making tons of money in Brazil. I left my mom, my family in Brazil, my girlfriend. I went to New York. I was working as a shoe shine in the World Trade Center, okay? I was talking to guys, I was working as a messenger. And if I have the guts,
Huevos.
Yeah, like the cojones. Why not, man? Why not? It's not that I have to start all over again. I knew that I have to start it, but I didn't expect it would take another 10, 20 years.
Why did you leave Brazil?
Because I want to be on Broadway, be a famous singer.
Seriously? Was that
Please tell me that's real. Please tell me that's real.
You gotta be kidding me, man. Don't believe it. Come on. I have a reputation.
That is totally going to be the tagline now for all the social media posts.
Yes. From Broadway to San Francisco, No, really. I mean, when you live in a country like Brazil, when you live, on places like it's called like a third world countries, everything that you see is like America, America, America. So in Brazil, there was this conception, and still pretty much, that if you come to United States, you make more money. Yes, you do. If you have a better life in the United States, yes, you have. Oh, and when you come to the United States, you come back to Brazil, have way more experience, and you should get paid more. No, you wouldn't. And I tell you why. And you're going to understand. I'm a citizen here, okay? I used to have a federal clearance here. I love the country. The thing is, because in Brazil and a lot of other countries, you don't have access to things, you have to very, very creative. Meaning, back on the day, if I wanted to learn something on the mainframe, man, there was like one very thick manual in English, because IBM would never translate their manuals. Never in the world, nowhere else in the world they would do it. They would only give you in English. You guys might have heard of that before or experienced that. And it was one manual for the company. So if we do back on the day, you have a system analyst, a system programmer that will be the guy that will do the assembler, and you have a data entry, you have an operator that will put like a tape or cards, discs on the computer, and you have the programmer. Okay, so for us, you have to really fight. We didn't have a terminal like we have nowadays. We don't even have a terminal. You have a laptop that with the emulator. But because of that, we have to work twice as hard. So I thought, well, I go to United States. I work in there for 5 years. I make some savings, and I come back to Brazil, and I can buy a home, and I can have a good job. Well, you make money here. You get paid in dollars. But guess what? You get to pay all your expenses in dollars as well. It's not exactly like you can save that much. The economy is more stable. The democracy really works over here. So there's a lot to be grateful here.
Okay, so we're entering 2016. You're taking this internship that's unpaid.
Yeah.
To do Salesforce work for the new org.
Yes.
What happened? I mean, we're talking like you became.
Where did it all go wrong?
Where did it all go wrong? You became a Salesforce MVP in September
2017.
2017. So we're talking like peanuts from a time frame standpoint, right? From going from an end user of the basic services to essentially going, sure, I'll be a free intern, free admin, and then suddenly in a year and change, you're Salesforce MVP. So what was the progression from that? What happened?
You should ask Holly.
I did ask Holly to be on the podcast, and she said yeah. So we'll put that as a note to say, how did Carlos become an MVP? I mean, come on, really, Holly.
And she probably want to say off the record. I tell her. No. I ask her the same questions because there's this misconception that every MVP has to be like a technically savvy, knows all the formulas, all of that, and it's not the case. And I'm not in there. Maybe I will never be the guru of formulas, but I can talk. As you guys can probably realize or accept or fight with, I can talk. And what happened is with that company, it was an hour away, an hour and a half drive from me.
Wow.
I did once a week. The other 4 days I would do it here from home. The good thing is that the guy, he was a developer himself, so he knew a little bit of Apex, and he would just say, hey, I have an end user. He will have 85 users. I want you to, if they ask you to do something, you do. If you don't, you do whatever you want to do. So I will be all day long. I will be on Trailhead. I had some ugly, behind the scenes exchanges with my friend Chris Duarte, because I would say things like, wait a minute, in the mainframe, you go get an address, all right? And you might have a group field called address with the redefinitions that you have a city, state, or something like that. I could never understand why the hell I tried to get that on a page or on the object, and I could never have that. And I say, I'm sorry, I've been doing this for close to 30 years. I know what I'm talking about here. Why this thing doesn't work? And she said, well, that's how it works and stuff. But she was kind enough. That's why she is successful as she is, and that's how I was spending my time, trying the trailheads in there, fighting for the very basics one. And then when I didn't get the help, I would go to the community and I would ask. I would start to attend a local Tampa Bay, users group here. I would ask. I offer people, I pay you $40 an hour to teach me Salesforce. Nobody would do it. And I say, hey, you stuck to me for life because I'm not going to give up on this. And that's pretty much what it took place. I started to do, they would ask me to do something. I didn't know how to do it. I would search how to do it. One of the best cases is that my boss say, well, I want you to create a custom object. He pretty much wants like a field track history, but something more sophisticated for a specific that, he wants the before and after and some other information that we didn't have it. And I pretty much create something like that for him. And it's funny that the day that he asked me that, I think exactly the same day, I try to remember somebody, what's the guy that has the website Admin Hero? Brent?
Brent Downey.
Yep.
Yeah, Brent Downey. Yeah. He put something in there like just to create a little process builder to automatically do those things. And I said, man, I have seen this before. So my boss asked me this like at 10 in the morning. Okay. By 2 o'clock, I have a process builder done, tested, working. He said, I want to see it. I showed to him, and that's you're gonna love it. And he say, how did you write this trigger? I say, trigger? What the hell is a trigger? I never heard about trigger. Oh, trigger, is that what you do with Apex and something? I say, man, I know that Apex is a language, but I don't know Apex. So how the hell did you do that? Oh, process builder. And then he goes, what the hell is process builder? Process builder is automation. He came after flow. I don't know how to do flow. I still telling Brian that he needs to teach me some flow because I never had a need, but
I'll teach
I
you
will
flow.
need.
I'll teach you flow.
Hopefully I know flow before Flash is deactivated because that's some I read about, right?
Yeah, it's coming. A few more months.
Yeah. So I show him, and it makes the matter worse because he had a Florida consulting company that I'm not gonna say the name, charging them $240 an hour for a senior guy, and $150 for a guy that just left a real estate company to be a junior in there. And me, I'm in there for free, and 2 or 3 days they couldn't do it when he asked for. Needless to say, in less than a month, he kicked them out, and he just kept me, for free. I resent that. He should pay me some money. But being honest, I will do it all over again. It came 3 months in June of 2016. Oh no, May. I tried my certification. Like 10 minutes into the certification, I say, man, what the hell I'm doing here? I'm lost. I mean, I had no clue. I failed miserable. Went back home, studied night and day, studied night and day. A month later, I took the same exam, or, admin, and I passed in 26 minutes,
Nice.
And the next day, I went to Italy for a World Ducati Week, the event that takes every 2 years, all by myself to celebrate that I got my certification. And I came back, I stayed another 3 months, and he said, hey, man, I already gave you a certification. I already gave you, the opportunity. You are certified, you can find a job. And I found a local company here that at the time present themselves as a Salesforce consulting company. But what you put in the internet is stay on the internet, right?
Right.
They were pretty much contracting company, headhunters, that they tried to drink too much of their Kool-Aid. So they tried to get too many requests for Salesforce people. They decided that they could do it. And that's how I ended up in there. I didn't last in there long. I lasted for 3 months at the most. I started to do Uber in the night. So this way, that was like October of 2016. That will give me time to do my studies in the morning. And from October 2016 to February 2017, I was doing Uber in the night and doing Salesforce like a Trailhead. So I was in the community asking. And I start to look for the Mentorship Central. That's a good place for people trying to get involved. But the problem at the time is still the same problem as now. There's way more mentees looking for mentors, and there wasn't enough. And before I realized, I was looking for help, but I was trying to help people that were a couple months behind me. They came after me. So the little that I learned, I started to put it back in there. So there's a community called Success Getting Started that Hayas is a guy from Salesforce in Canada. He's one of the guys in there, like Elna Miller and all the other ones. And I start to be unusual. Every Friday he was there getting started. I was in there asking a lot, and then I start to answer. Then I found out there was one for Brazil in Portuguese. And instead to cut and paste like a lot of people do, no, I will translate that from English to Portuguese, and I will say the source. I'll mention Atul Gupta is one of my all-time guys that I really like it. I'll talk about Doug Ayers. I'll talk about Steve Moe. I'll talk about just about anybody in there that I say, hey, this is people really giving back to the community because they spend a lot of time on the Trailblazer and they're not looking for the limelight. They were teaching, sharing. And that's how, I guess, people start to know me of, helping out.
And that's the thing. I'm sure that there are at least some people listening to this podcast, besides our mothers, who listen to this story and are
have my probation officer is here.
He's listening to the podcast as well, at least half of it. So the idea of having somebody who went from 0 to Salesforce MVP in 19 months, there's got to be like foaming at the mouth, like some people. Because I do know, I've seen out on Twitter, out on community, there are people who are campaigning. There are people who are organizing voting blocks. Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And so then there's Carlos. So the difference is, it's not, like you said earlier, it is not that you are technical. It's the helping.
Yeah, you're
right?
not the expert at all things. But you're willing to take the knowledge that you do have and share it freely with everyone. And that's true for, well, basically the whole community, because I'll readily admit, I still go to Google. I still go to the community. I still send Mark, IMs in the middle of the day because I don't know everything. I don't think any.
Oh, you don't?
I don't. No,
Okay, good night.
Just like high school, people just think I know everything. The platform's too big. There's too much for everyone to know. I mean, that's why people kind of, specialized. So but the fact that you were so invested in not just learning, but then taking what you have learned and then give it back to other people, that's what makes you an MVP. I will say this also, Carlos, I really like to hear that you've been taking a lot of the information and like translating it from English to Spanish or Portuguese, because I know there's a lot of people who speak those natively and get frustrated because a lot of the answers are in English, and trying to
is the fastest growing market.
Right.
Don't take my work. Go talk to
Oh no, I've seen the numbers, and I know that we as a podcast, as much as we joke about the fact that we only have our mothers listening to this, and that guy John, you know who you are. I look at our stats and I know we have people who listen from Brazil, and we have people who listen from Spain and Mexico and Portugal. And one of these days,
Macau speak Portuguese.
Well, one of these days, you know what we should do, Mark, is we should have Carlos take one of our episodes and do a Portuguese version.
A clean or a dirty one?
We wouldn't know, would we?
We're clean on iTunes, so we wouldn't know.
We're trusting you, Carlos. We're trusting you.
You guys are talking about some podcasts in Portuguese. I mentioned, this is a shameless, I hope you guys understand. There is an event that happened the last Friday of the month called an MVP Office Hours Portuguese.
Really? I didn't know that.
Nice. I saw that on Twitter, yeah.
Yeah, we started in January. Jackie Treviso and Daryl, and was the third gentleman in there. The three, they organized the MVP Office Hours. Jackie approached me and said, would you like to do it? Yeah. And would you do it? And I say, do I qualify? Of course you qualify, because again, it's a myth. You don't need to be an MVP to be on the MVP broadcast. That's sponsored by the MVP, but a lot of MVP goes in there and they ask questions. A lot of MVP are going there and answer questions and vice versa. So the very first one, we had Inés Garcia, freshly MVP from Spain. Great lady. She helped a little bit in Spanish, and I told her, I translate. A lot of people in Brazil, they understand Spanish. Steve Moe showed up at the last 5 minutes. He didn't know. He got his schedule mixed up. Then the last one that we had in February, we have Rakesh Gupta. Rakesh Gupta, the automation guru. He was in there. He answered a lot. We have Daryl Moon from Australia. He's not an MVP, but he has a website about training and certification. He helps a lot. And I encourage everybody, because I happen to speak a little English. And, just the fact that we have somebody knowledgeable and somebody ask something, most of the times they want to understand what's the technicality when somebody starts to reply. So I encourage you, anybody else that would like to give it a shot,
Yeah.
And,
so if someone was interested in joining the Portuguese MVP office hours, where would they go to find it?
You have a Twitter. It's called MVP Office Hours Portuguese. We have the group on Trailblazer called MVP Office Hours Portuguese as well. So you can Google, you can go to Twitter, or if you go to the Trailblazer Community, you have that as well. That's basic what it is. I mean, and to get to the MVP, I really think that I was being me, I was being myself. How long am I going to be an MVP? I have no idea, because I speak my mind. And if that's,
most of us do, Carlos.
Well, and if speaking my mind, I push the envelope, I push this to be a better system, a better process. Good. If it's not, let's put it this way, I live a good 50 years of my life without anything to do with Salesforce, and I was happy. And the MVP does not define who I am. Is an honor for me, and I take it very seriously. I got really offended when the campaign started. A lot of people start to solicit me and ask me. This week, I had a guy that has 10 years experience in Salesforce. I saw his LinkedIn. He's in Atlanta, and he said pretty much, how do I become a part of Salesforce HANA and become an MVP? And I said, do you really work with Salesforce? He said, yes, I do. I said, so man, you're already HANA. And MVP,
exactly.
So that's the kind of thing. But as I said, it's been interesting because, permission to speak freely. I don't have a imposter syndrome. I know what I know, and I know way more what I don't know. So I don't pretend to know things. I don't, if I post something about somebody else, I give the credit. I'm not one of those false prophets. And Brian knows exactly what I'm talking about, because we have this conversation, about MVP elections, right?
Yep.
So, yeah. So it is what it is, I'm very honored. And if the day that they decide that I'm no longer fit their profile, or that I'm pushing the envelope, well, I'm going to continue to push the envelope until I die. The doctor's going to say he's dead. I say, I'm not yet. So that's the way it is. I treat people with respect, and I speak my mind. So because I speak my mind, I know the consequence of that. People might not like, they might not understand me. But that's fine. That's the price that you pay.
I now feel like we need to rewrite your introduction and scratch that humblest man on the planet line and replace it with something a little bit more fitting.
They'll be fine. I mean, something else business oriented. That's something that I just want to put a line in there. Is about a certification that I got last Saturday called a Field Service Lightning.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That's a tough cert.
Yes, it is. And no, it's not. Yes, it is. No, it's not. And I'm talking to myself, and I have a yeah. Well, yes and no. Yes, if you never did service, okay. If you never work with Service Cloud, you dead. Don't go in there, because
don't get a certification just to add a block to your resume.
Right.
Exactly. And we see a lot of that, don't we?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
On my LinkedIn, on my resume, I don't even put anything in there more like a 3 times certified, 5 times certified. No, I don't, because I can tell you, there's some people that says more than 6 or 10 certifications. Go get a good manual, or go Google something deep in one of those certifications and just ask. You're going to say, oh, I haven't used that since the day that I got certified. I don't have that. I'm not planning to have 20 certifications. For those that have it, good for them. You prove to me that you took the time to get certified. I don't believe that you can be proficient in all of them, but this is just me.
So, Brian,
Yes, Mark.
mental note, the next person we should interview is Adam Olshanky. We should interview him next because he has like every certification.
Oh, yeah, no.
Counterpoint.
Seriously, field service lightning is interesting, but you got to have the basis of a service.
Right,
Actually,
so obviously it's service related, and
Yes.
it's lightning related, and it's field related.
it's not lightning related. That's a name only.
So
Oh,
for
man.
those of us who
Oh.
are not familiar with it, what is field service? And you just said there's no lightning in it, so I guess what's field service?
Okay, when you do services, okay, service, you have a call center, right? You have a cases, and when you open a case, the person might have entitlements or not. What's the entitlements? It's a kind of a coverage, free support that you have for free, very limited, or you might have SLAs and contracts by products when you have a products and service. So if you sell like a Best Buy, they might have Service Cloud where they sell a television, they sell a dishwasher. With that comes like a warranty. And when they have a warranty, they need somebody to go in there and physically go and fix that. That's when field service plays a role. Field service is very mobile oriented, and you have a call center where people are calling and say, I have a problems, and the dispatcher, the agent, he's going to create a case, several cases in there. Then after the agent, there's the dispatcher that's going to say, well, what do we have here? We have a Carlos today. There's a poor South American. He can go in there, fix that TV. Then we have another guy that's pretty good on dishwashers and so forth. If you do that manually, it's terrible. Okay. So what field services is pretty much an extension. That's my vision, because there is a package. That's a managed package for a company in Israel that Salesforce represents. If you try to do field service native as it comes with the Salesforce, you have to do most of the things manually, and then it defeats the purpose. So when you have this package called Field Service Lightning, you have pretty much users like you have the users that we have in the regular Salesforce. But then you start to have the skills, and you attach those skills to the people. You see certifications and where do they live. And those skills, they have a weight. So this guy from 0 to 10, he knows 10. Oh, from 0 to 10, he knows only 5. That's how the engine, that's how the package takes your location, real time, and several other things together. And there's the algorithm, the engine calculates, it does the scheduling and matches the cases, the needs, the skill set, the person that's close to that. Does it make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
In a nutshell. And of course, there's a lot of things. You can have geocoding, like a real life situation where, something happened. There's a power outage in somewhere. And then they say, we need to dispatch everybody to that, or we need to avoid everybody to go in there. There's an emergency cases. There's a customer can say, hey, I only want Brian to be my technician, but I don't ever want to see that stupid Brazilian guy called Carlos. You can put that on the system. For serious. Yeah, you have something. No, for real. You have a mandatory. You have always reject, like I don't want that person ever. And you have the preferred. I really like that guy. So there's a lot of things there. So field service, last year I saw an article that was a brand new product. And 2 weeks ago, I even posted on LinkedIn and Twitter, that's the fastest growing sector for Salesforce. Marketing Cloud is going very fast. Market Cloud is going very fast as well. You see that what they just did 2 days ago by another company. But field services is getting very aggressive. And the few people that I told that I passed the certification, a few of them inside Salesforce, technical people, and say, man, that's a tough one to get it. So I would say, if you have a service cloud, you can pass, by taking a good look on work orders, case, and entitlements. If you don't know service cloud, forget it, because it's even a pre-requirement. You cannot take the field service Lightning certification if you don't have the service cloud. It's like you cannot take advanced admin if you don't have the the first admin, you know.
So, Carlos, let me ask you a question, because I think you've had a very unique path compared to everyone that we've talked to, because you're an immigrant, you've worked really hard. You were born in 1978 and started coding in COBOL in 1979. So you had the you're not exactly what you would consider the same age bracket from a lot of the people we've interviewed.
Are you calling me old?
No, because I was born in 1978.
Well
so obviously we're the
seasoned.
same age.
Well seasoned.
There are laws that protect poor South Americans like me against age discrimination. And I happen to be married to una señora abogada. That means a lawyer.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
my
we're
wife.
not discriminating, obviously.
Okay.
We're not discriminating. I have Mark on the podcast all the time.
Oh, that would be Pete, though, right?
Yeah, right. So, oh god, talk about getting
Nice.
derailed. So,
Well done.
my question is, if you could give one piece of advice to someone else out there wondering how can they do what you've done, or how can they not necessarily be an MVP, but how can they put themselves in the position to be successful with Salesforce, what would you tell them?
I don't think you guys are going to believe it, but very first thing for me, okay, have faith. You know, I'm a religious person, even though a lot of people don't believe. I have my faith. And the harder I work, the luckier I get it. You see the point?
Mm-hmm.
The harder I work, the luckier I get it. Because people, oh, he's so lucky. Yeah, I'm pretty lucky. As long as I work hard, I'm lucky. I don't. There's a case of being in the right place in the right time. Hasn't happened to me. If it happened to me, I will be already working on my dream job that everybody knows where I want to work, doing what. And hasn't happened yet. I have not given up like a David Liu tried 10 times to work for Google. You know, I keep trying to work for company XXX, whatever it is. But I would say pretty much, have a faith. And if you're not a person of faith, that's fine. But it's not exactly working hard. Work smart, see what works for you. Try, especially if you're young, man, you have a whole life ahead of you. If you are single, if you're in your 20s, you're just starting. There's too many things. Like when you go to college, you're going to do experiment this, experiment that. You're going to change careers. And in my case, it wasn't that. I mean, just the fact that I left Brazil and coming here, I already was in the rain to get wet, if you know what I mean. So when you are, it's not exactly like a cheap talking, phrases that give effect and stuff like that. When you're down, when you're really down, there's nowhere else to go but up. And you got to take that, any unemployed, just had a neck surgery, you still have this strong accent. And there's an association.
Accent? What accent?
Yeah, there's a not-for-profit organization, the poor South Americans trying to make a living and reduce their accent. You can make a donation in there, But seriously, when you come from their background, living from another country and start, after 25 years, you find yourself successful citizen, and stuff. It's really not a big deal to start all over. You don't expect to start all over because then I'll be die or dead trying. But I would say pretty much, nowadays technology has changed. You guys probably a couple of years or 10 years younger than me or more. I'm sure that it wasn't easy for you guys. And if it was easy for you guys, there's no shame in that. You don't need to go to hardship to say, hey, I earned it. If your family is wealthy and gave you a good education, good. You don't have to feel guilty. You don't have to be poor or have to go to hardship to be recognized as a successful. On my limited conception, I think I'm successful. I'm doing what I like. I provide for my family. And, as I said, I got snubbed too many times before Salesforce. I got snubbed working with Salesforce. I got snubbed after I became MVP. And I don't have to prove anything to nobody in there. The only people that I have to prove is the people that pay me to work. They engage into my work.
So I think I hear have faith, work smart, and don't give up hope.
There's a question we ask of everybody, Carlos, so we're going to ask it of you because we have as our goal for an upcoming episode is to actually get Parker Harris on the show.
Oh, boy.
And so what we ask everybody is if you could ask Parker Harris a question, what would you ask him? And we may ask him that because we're lazy.
Okay, well, I would ask him, can we, instead to have 3 releases a year, can we have 2?
Why would you only want to have 2?
Interesting.
Because, I mean, you barely catching up on one and you have another one on top. I mean, the life cycle in dev, like 3 to 4 months is just too much.
I feel that a lot, actually. You get a release and then all of a sudden we're hearing about the pre-release sandboxes getting advertised and like,
exactly.
Wait a second, just got this. Where'd that come from?
Brian, you just put a nice piece in there about was the changing colors on dashboards.
Right.
Okay, that was a nice one. You know what? I was playing with that since end of November, December. Do you guys have the GS0 orgs?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I don't know how I got that way before MVP, whatever. That's lucky I am, right? I had that. So what happened is when you get the stinks, they still like in alpha or beta. I remember when I got that, like the themes were not fine. It was still bad that you have to use a permission set for the Lightning report builder. You still have it.
Still do.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But, and how many people know about that? Nobody knows about that unless the few that have those orgs or they are digging because the nature they are, the living. So my point is like 3 times a year is way too much.
Thank you very much, Carlos. I really appreciate it, especially considering the extreme last minute. If people want to reach out to you and talk to you, how should they contact you, Carlos?
Is 1-800-Carlos help me.
At least it's not a 900 number.
No. I mean, my Twitter is AKA Carioca. Let me put here, if I put on the chat, can I?
We'll put a link to your Twitter in the show notes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, that'll be good. I'm in there. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm the the Trailblazer community. And guys, all jokes apart, is being really great for me. I don't know if it is a validation that I belong to the group or not, but you
belong.
Yeah.
There's no
you
question.
Work with Salesforce? You're part of the Ohana.
It's been a pleasure having you, Carlos.
Yes.
And if you want to learn more about MVP Office Hours Portuguese or the Field Service Lightning, we will put the links in our show notes, so make sure you take a look at those. WizardCast is produced by Brian Kwong and Mark Ross, directed by Brian Kwong and Mark Ross, technical administration by Brian Kwong and Mark Ross, script writing by Brian Kwong and Mark Ross, audio editing by Brian Kwong and Mark Ross, website maintenance by Brian Kwong and Mark Ross, and our intern this episode was Robin Dupre.
Let me guess, another Twitter follower as an intern?
That's right, you can be an intern too. Just follow us at WizardCast_pod on Twitter.
And send us your interview suggestions, jokes, videos, tips, and feedback to wizardcast@thewizardnews.com or head over to thewizardnews.com and click Contact WizardCast.
And we want to hear from you. Are you like Carlos? Do you have a question for Parker Harris? What is it?
Submit a question by going to bit.ly/ParkerQuestions and fill out our short form.
It's also almost time for our next idea exchange highlight. Do you have an idea out in the idea exchange that is languishing? Do you have something that you think is really cool you want other people to know about it? Tell us.
bit.ly/idea highlight to submit an idea to us.
Don't forget to subscribe to the WizardCast and receive our next episode automatically.
And please post reviews on the Apple Podcasts via iTunes to share this episode. It helps others to hear what you just had to endure.
Once again, I'm Brian.
And I'm a telenovela rompecorazon.
Thanks for listening.
Ay, ay, ay.
Que lástima.
Que lástima. All right, let's go to the next bit then.
I tried. I said, how are you feeling, Mark?
I know. I rolled over it because I'm a terrible person.
Don't step on my joke, Brian.